Excellent. Hello, fellow seekers of planet Earth. This is Nai Coach, and this is the first installment of the Truth Fire Journal. Okay, the purpose. The purpose of this channel is or this show on the channel, that's a plane, is to teach about human qualia, what we call mojo in Podler theory, and in short, to work on the case of what is the human condition and the meaning of existence. Quite a lot to cover. Who am I? I am Coach. You can call me Coach. I am the top detective currently working on this case. As a part of that, I am a prodigious savant, means I have some special abilities, particularly related to facial recognition and categorizing people and being able to keep that all in my head. But I also have some issues. There's quite a bit of them. Amnesia, difficulty with logical sequencing, social anxiety, things of that nature. But they're part of me doing what I do. The areas that I am able to do, I am the best in the world, getting better every day. I don't do anything else. I obsess of it. It is everything that I am. It takes all of me and then some. But on areas that aren't related to it, I will have great difficulty. On things that are related to it, I will have great facility. So that's going to need to be understood when I do this broadcasting. In the case of broadcasting, in order to work the case of human condition, what is it, and the meaning of existence, there's a lot of different cases, generally relating to human qualia, but how it can play out, such as the various gender mojos, the alchemies, career bubbles, how do you mojo read, things as far as current events, theory questions on things beyond just the human math of it, of the qualia, questions that come from the forums on our website, and relationship questions, spirituality questions, and so on. All these questions are cases, and I'll be working these cases here. This is going to be distinct from my Truthfire Dragon channel, which is going to be my personal channel, and this is going to be my professional doing of things. So the difference is that in Truthfire Dragon, I'll be focusing on art, artistic expression, personal expression, things that are raw, experimentation, things of that nature. Here, I'm going to be working cases and trying to show my methodology and how I do it. So I'm going to be my eccentric self, but I am going to be in a professional setting. I'm going to be doing my work, and when I work, I'm very professional. I am a fanatic about being professional. I'm a Kensei. So in the course of it, I will try to make sure everything I'm speaking about relates in some way to cases. And this casework can be of great value to anyone who wants to know about the human condition. This will include things about me personally, because I do have my own issues, and those issues are a case in a way, but also my peak pathway, also how I'm able to do what I do, and the process and path I've taken to get where I am now and where I intend to go from here. Those are all important cases as well. But in general, I'm going to try and be focusing on universal cases. And I will try to keep my bearing professional, not necessarily getting as upset, perhaps being using swear words and things of that nature. I will do what I need to do artistically on Truthfire Dragon, but here I want to have a professional tone. At some point, I'd like to open this up for people to be guests to come on who will not be Podler, but they are interested and have things to say, whether it be against it or just neutral or just whatever interesting. I want to be able to have that. I'm not ready right now, but I want to make that happen at some point. So I'm going to start setting that tone. The tone here will be civil and professional, but of course provocative because of the topics we're doing, and authoritative because of the strength of the data and the research we've done so far. And then of course eccentric because it's me. Also, my spirits want me to track my work, so people who are going to be working this case, outside of what I know about my lifetime, and then beyond my lifetime, obviously I won't know about. I want to give as much information as I can, and so this is where I'm going to be doing that. I've gotten myself far enough in the research that I believe I can start presenting in this way. I also like to visualize that in many a good science fantasy adventure, there are the videotapes left behind by some eccentric scientist that was considered crazy during their day, but later on people realized, nope, they had the answer. They were one of the only people that did, and luckily they kept some records. So here it is. Another purpose is that my genius needs to flow in order to keep working this case better, because I'm currently the top detective working on it. And so I have to refine my process and honor it as best I can. Like Sherlock Holmes from the movie, the show Elementary, you have to make sure your lifestyle is conducive to being able to solve the cases. And that means making sure your apparatus is as strong and clear and as confident as it can be, well balanced. As a part of that, I naturally tend to work in a certain way. Part of that is I go long, I monologue, and as I do so, I will have more things come to me as I go longer. But that often is not possible to be done in normal interactions with people. And so I generally do it by myself, but that is where my best content comes from. And my spirits want me to do that more, to have a reason to do that more, and to capture it. As a part of that, the longer I go, the more goodies get revealed. That's sort of how it works. So I will be attempting to go deeper and deeper as I do these periodic Truthfire Journal recordings, because the more cases I get into, they unlock other cases. I unlock those cases, they unlock other cases, and it creates this, ooh, what's next, what's next, what's next? And as it happens, I get very genius, and I stop being nervous. Social anxiety, those things melt away as the interest, the excitement of the cases happen, and they kind of cascade. And I like to do that until as much comes out of me as I can deal with, and then I rest and start again the next day. So here, that's what I will be doing, and I'll be using this camera as something to project into. Next, he wants me to project what I have going on with me to another being. In this case, it'll be all the fellow seekers of planet Earth. Here you are, you and I having a dialogue. Exciting. All right, what else is going on before we get into some cases? Leveling up. I will also be leveling up as I do this as well, and keeping an ongoing record of my journey as I level up. As you know, I like it when fellow practitioners of pod layer in mojo reading keep a record in some way of the adventures they go through of enlightenment as they level up in the mojo reading process and get better at it. But it applies really to all the practitioner tracks, and really just all of being a hero, being a seeker, is as you learn, it's good to kind of write things down. You don't have to be elaborate with it, although you can, but it's nice to record those so you can see how you made the journey that you did, and others that come after you can learn from it. Myself with my issues, particularly with memory and logical sequencing, it's very important that now at this stage of my research that I use apparatuses such as this recording to record my work, because my memory is so bad, but I have so many good things going on here. I need to get them out. That means going long, so I can really get that synopnia going, get the nuggets of memory and things like that churning up, and then capture it. All right. As a part of that, I am currently in the program. I am 54th level. Yay! I passed the 50 level mark. I'm very, very excited about that. Took a long time to do it, and it really means a lot. All those levels, they were earned. They were earned, and I feel the development in the process. I'm very glad that I did that, and I want more. I want to do more. So a part of that was that I gave myself credit and everyone else for the Track 5 bubble building for online get-togethers. It doesn't have to necessarily be in person. It can be either way, because it is a huge part of building pod layer that people are getting together online and publicly demonstrating that they believe they're seeing something, and they believe that there are merits to the theory based on these observations. So that's huge. And that should be recorded or given credit for, because it is a big deal. That is a big effort, and it is a big gift to and contribution to the pod layer cause. All right, so as part of that, I am level 8. and that makes me level 54 overall. So real quick on that, Jailene, she's not far behind. She is level 7 in track 5 ball building, and Ademus is level 6. On that, on the 2-person and 3-person sessions, I gave credit to them and myself for 5 and beyond meetings in that way because of the work at the coffee shop we've done in the outreach ops that we've done. Let's see. And then everyone else, I think it's pretty much self-explanatory. The levels are there, but I will just mention that I couldn't really quite find all the Naiji temples that we've done, so I went ahead and just gave credit for 5 4-person sessions to the Naiji that meet regularly, Mitchell, Ben, and Glenn. So in case you're wondering where that came from. So the 2-person, 3-person session credit, that came from doing coffee shop stuff. 4-person session, I gave credit for Naiji temple stuff, and the rest of it came from other temples and the Sunday sessions. All righty. Boom, boom, boom. So now it's time to get into our first case, and that is going to be models. All right. So as we know from the Pablar proclamation that has the ambassador incantation beats, I'll be referencing that a lot during these filmings, so expect to hear that. I'll be showing it more as well once we get the second editions done. Jailene is working hard to get the visuals ready to be put in there, and so soon we will have second editions, and so I'll be using that quite a bit. But meantime, still going off of first edition, is that the models, female, have a lot of Jinai, Zaini, and then a smaller amount of Naiji as far as like the fashion models. And then when you get into more like swimsuit models and things of that nature, various product models, you see a lot of the adaptive centralists, the Vijay and Jai V. So I've now gathered the 4,000 samples that I want to read this year to be on pace that I talked about. I went ahead and gathered those. So I was like going crazy early year, getting ready this month to have those. And so in the course of doing that, I've looked at them. I've not really done any kind of official reading yet, but I have looked at them. And in this early scouting, first of all, I gathered from several bubbles I thought would have good yields as far as gender mojos that we need more of for our research. And so models, female models is one of them that I went into more heavily. I got quite a few samples. And preliminary, one thing that kind of tickled is I'm now seeing that I have a better idea of what the Jinai female rifts are. And so I'm thinking this year there's going to be a general trend of purification with Jinai females. I think there may be some lurking in Nijai, in Jaini, in Nizai, in Naiji. There's some places, Zaini even. There's some places that they may be lurking, and so I'll be doing that this year. And so this model bubble will be one I'll be visiting quite a bit. So the what else? Anything else? That's basically it. So I guess we'll go ahead and get into what I have to show you today. That is, boom. All right, so here's our first person, Jinai Frida Asan. I'm gonna probably say that wrong, but anyway, she is new. She is a Jinai. Actually, in this first batch I grabbed, we got about 20 of them. Most of them I got were Zaini, but there are a lot of Jinai in here as well. All right, so there's one. Showed you her. What else we got? Okay, Alexandra Augustin. Let me make this a little bigger for us. There we go. Zaini. You can see the sheer cheeks and that localized G. It's interesting. I'm getting good practice. Well, I'll be getting a lot more practice throughout the year, but I'm getting some already in this distinguishing this look. Kind of like in MMA, there are the game face that everyone kind of does, but they use their various powers to do a game face. With the fashion models, which is what she is, there's this sort of haughty imperiousness look that is given a lot. Then that's sort of like the way you look, and so you have to be used to that, and I'll be getting more used to that particular maneuver. It's a very particular maneuver, and they do a lot of variations of it. And then you have the Jinai, Zaini, and Nai Ji doing it. So particularly with the Ji and the Zai, how it's being used to make this look, this runway model look. Intriguing. All right. Next up, Zaini, Alyssa, Amin. Okay, that's pretty clear cut here. You see there the sheer cheeks and that very localized moating around the mouth, but it is also more tension in the upper lip because it's Ji. Now, one thing you'll note here, as I'm doing this broadcast, is I'm going to try to show how I work cases. People are more familiar with me working mojo reading cases in specific individuals, but really I came to do that from just the general way I approach working cases. So here, for example, I'm working the modeling bubble, and I'm gathering low-hanging fruit. So to me, Zaini, Alyssa, Amin, she looks like a very classic Zaini. It's a very classic Zaini features. And so I will use this to help me get to Zaini that have a little less classic features, and then some maybe a bit obscure features, and then some very unusual features for a Zaini. That's how I work my way in on this bubble. So right now I'm going low-hanging fruit, and she looks very Zaini. All right, next up we have Alisar Alabuni, also Zaini. Again, sheer cheeks, localized Ji. Right here in the right-hand picture, you can see it there. She's smiling big, but not much action in the cheek area, but a lot of energy in that upper lip, but doesn't move much from there. All right. So now to keep going, Zaini or Jonah Ala. One thing's very cool about the modeling bubble is that you tend to get a great spectrum of diversity as far as ethnicities, which is really cool, but you still are seeing the same three mojos a lot. So it's kind of cool to see those rather sometimes radical ethnic shifts while still maintaining the core essence. All right, Zaini, Janice Alita. She's got that classic Zaini pucker. See a lot of energy in the lips in that picture on the right, but it stays mainly in that mouth area. And that look is one that the supermodels or these kind of fashion models all tend to hit. It's different than the more, say, pinup models that you see with the AdSense. What's quite interesting is watching the Zaini and the Jinai, which are the two most prevalent in the female modeling, do this same maneuver. This sort of, dispassionate cheeks with haughty puckered lips or haughty, slightly open lips. Interesting. This one on the right, she reminds me of the Zaini from Black Sails. All right, here we go with Jinai. This is Leomi Anderson. All right, and then you see on the right, it's quite easy to see that she is a Jinai, fairly classic expression there with the full Ji, a mode that goes into the eyes. But on the left, she's rocking one of these classic model poses, the dispassionate cheeks and just the slightly puckered lips. But you can see there's more tone throughout the face, and that's what's really quite helpful. More tone, and the lips look like, if you look closely at it with fine artistic appreciation, that they are being held more in place than the Zaini. The pucker is taking more energy, as opposed to, I guess one of the things I'm really dialing in on is the effort taken to keep this impassiveness of the lips, or the effort taken to give the pucker, to express. So here, more effort on keeping the stillness of the emoting. All right, here we go, another Zaini. Most of them are Zaini this time around. Now this one's cool. This is a fairly classic Zaini, but full lips. Full lips, and the lower lip is heavier. So there might be some confusion that it's Jai, and might be some confusion, maybe you're seeing values-based because of the fullerness of the lips. A lot of times full lips can be confusing that way, but this is a Zaini. But see what I'm saying? The eyes dancing, and then those cheeks very sheer. And if you look at it with a little effort, you can see the mouth is localized emoting. But it's a good way to start going, aha, those full lips don't fool me. So we start moving in to samples that are a little more challenging. I'll be focusing on these ones that are really easy to see or only, slightly challenging, at least to me anyway. I'll be trying to. Next up, we have Zaini Nadja Auerman. Pretty classic Zaini here as well. One thing that can be tricky sometimes as people's face changes as they get older is they can take on different contours. So on the one on the left, obviously, being younger, the cheeks are smoother, which accentuates the sheer cheek quality. Or on the right, there's more aging, still obviously very beautiful, but there's more aging on the face, and so the sheer cheeks have more wrinkles, but they're still sheer. But sometimes wrinkles might be confused for the fine flexation in the cheeks that a values-based mojo has, but it's not. All right, Zaini Marlon Bacchus. Another fairly classic Zaini look here, except a little wide in the cheeks, right? If you look at it, you can see that the eyes have a bit more of that gauzy, chilly gauzing look, a little bit sleepy that comes from having the Zai as source. And the mouth is localized. Those cheeks, if you just look quickly, you might think, is this a knee Zai or something because of how flat they are. So again, this is a good sample because it looks pretty classic Zaini, except wide cheeks. Just a slight thing to throw it out from being the classic look, which helps grow my understanding of this gender mojo. Alrighty. Zaini Molly Bear. Pretty classic here. Yeah, this pretty classic look. This is just a different one than you see that has the more straight angular looks. This has more of a very lean face. This is even lean for Zaini. So this is actually one that is rather lean even for Zaini, because what happens is normally, not saying normally, in a classic Zaini, it tends to be narrow, but sort of straight narrow. But sometimes when they get very lean, it's narrow and it's like wavy narrow. There's a bit more of like the bones, like the cheekbones pop out, the chin bone pops out, the eyebrow bone kind of bulges slightly, and it's still overall very lean face. So classic, but lean classic. All right. Who else we have here? All right, another Zaini. Nadja Bender. Fairly classic there. Another one, Zaini Eva Berzina. Again, fairly classic on these, but you'll see the one on the right. She has this slight like what's going on look. And both Zhai and Zai have a form of expectancy. We often talk about expectancy being Zhai, and that's with the assumption of emotional or interpersonal expectancy. But Zai also has a logical expectancy. So she's getting a bit of a, Zai with knee expectant look in this right picture. But that is chilly. But this riff, pick this kind of look she's given the right, just looking at it cursorily, you might think a Zaini or something, but this is actually a Zaini. Next, Zaini Zuzana Bajoch. Pretty classic Zaini there. Yeah, pretty classic. Although, I will say, in both pictures, particularly the one on the right, she has rather large eyes. So perhaps the largeness of eyes might throw someone seeing a gatherer or something of that nature. But nope, this is a Zaini. You'll see the localizing of the lips, the long expanse of sheer cheeks, and those eyes, although large, are still more frosted than, say, like a knee Zai would have. All right. Next, Zaini Sarah Blomqvist. Pretty classic Zaini there, both photos. I like the touch of the purple eyeshadow there. Nice, for knee. Another one, Zaini Kate Bogucharskaya. Fairly classic, except for the voluptuousness of the lips. And sometimes that voluptuousness might think you're seeing a Zaini, like maybe you're seeing a Monica Bellucci or something. But this is Zai. Those cheeks are sheer, and she actually is doing like an active pucker. A very still one in the left. On the right, a little more energy given to it. But that is an active G pucker. Another one, Ziny Lexi Bowling, pretty classic there. Now, one thing I'll note is on the right, she's giving that catway walk. Now here, you see she's giving a good amount of heat with her G. And that's when you might think, oh, am I seeing a Jinai or something? So when they get, very statuesque, it might make you think a Jinai is a Ziny. And they give this kind of like fierce pouty, like, I'm annoyed to be wearing these extremely expensive and nice clothes. You know what I mean? That look, you're like, whoa, that's a lot of G. But it's a G polar. Okay. Oh, well, I'll go and do them at the same time. I was going to do the additions and then the purifications, but I'll just go ahead and do them both. So here is a purification. As I mentioned, that there's going to be some activity in the Jinai ladies. Kate Bosworth, I believe, is a Jinai. I'm seeing a lot of other models, not other models, but models that look like her. She does modeling as well. And one thing that was difficult, something that Jailene mentioned as well, is what threw me for a while, is she has this sort of very, winsome way about her and almost a fragility to her. So there actually are several Jinai models that have that, and I'll be showing them over the next coming months. Now, overall, the Jinai tend to have the more Lionic energy that we're most familiar with, but there is this particular riff. Sort of retiring. And actually, I would say that you see more of it in modeling than in acting. So that's helpful, but not always. For example, Portia de Rossi, I would put this kind of riff. Next up, a new one addition. Another Ziny, Sarah Brannon. Pretty classic there, except on the right, for example, you'll see she has quite a large smile. This is something that throws people, is you have to look at each of the zones, the eyes, the cheek, and the mouth as their own thing, and then how much of that moves or doesn't move, and in what ways. So she's got a rather large expressive mouth. When she opens it, it can take up a lot of space, but it doesn't move her cheeks. Her cheeks aren't moving much, and she doesn't have necessarily the longest side cheeks. Some Ziny have longer ones, but the main thing is that whole expanse down the lip doesn't move much at all. All right, Margot Brooke, pretty classic Ziny there. Who else? Ziny Jean Campbell, fairly classic here as well. Although I will mention two things. One is that on the left, she has the makeup not so much on, so you can see more of her freckles. And freckles sometimes can throw people. You're seeing, it sounds funny, but just like wrinkles can sometimes be confused for the fine flexation of value space in the cheeks. Freckles can also confuse that you're seeing movement, like a dappling of movement, a dappling of a fine flexation of the cheeks. But it's not actually the case. Because you look on the left, her cheeks aren't moving much, but the freckles give an illusion of movement in a way. Another thing I'll mention is I am seeing something, I was going to say tower, but actually it's more specific to Xi Alpha, is this longish forehead. Now, just, there are plenty of mojos that have it. I've seen pilots, I've seen Xeni that have it, and I've seen other people that have it. But there does seem to be a propensity. I knew for the Ziny males, I see it more so far, but also the Ziny female, and this sample has it quite noticeably, the elongated forehead. And I believe I'm also seeing this in tennis. I'll know more when I cover that with Mitchell. But I think I'm also seeing it with a lot of the Xi V in tennis. But I don't think I'm seeing this as much with the Xi Alpha, although it's too early to say for sure. All righty, next up, Ziny, Charlotte Carey. Pretty classic here, except that she's, to those who maybe are used to looking at Western samples, she is Asian. But it's a great way to see the phenomenon. It's really cool when you get a bit of the essence and then you do slight shifts that are new to you while showing things that you already know, and you keep building from there. So she looks like a very classic Ziny, a very classic Asian Ziny. All right, another Ziny, quite classic. Ziny Natty Chabanenko. And again, we're seeing the localized mouth. And you'll see she's doing both the looks I talked about. The sort of, pouty, imperious, I'm just generally annoyed to be here on the left. And then on the right, so the open, like what's going on, this can be anything. It's just like, it's like emoting, but doesn't really saying anything while the cheeks are impassive. Those two looks are like done a lot. I'm sure there's so much variation that I'm missing right now, but definitely those two looks, sort of pouty fierce, but with like flat cheeks, and then flat cheeks with an open mouth. Like, anyway, pretty classic. I will say, I think I see a little bit of that Xi alpha elongation of forehead, at least in the right photo. What else we have? As you can see, this is a work in progress. Yeah. All right. Maybe I should. Okay. Here we go. So this is a new Ginai, Irina Sharapova. Okay, so actually she's doing two of the looks you're seeing. You'll see on the left, she has the sort of puckered lips without the cheeks moving. Just I'm generally like, I'm nonplussed. And then on the right, the mouth slightly open of, what could this be? And then notice that she's Ginai, she's G alpha, the cheeks held rather impassively. So I'm doing a little emoji reading here. Obviously, when I'm showing you this, a good amount of emoji reading, but I'm also trying to talk about the modeling bubble itself, the maneuvers that are done when you're here, because there's the demographics, there's the maneuvers, and then there's the mojos themselves and how they work. Very fascinating. All right, is there any more new ones? No more new ones. All right, are there any more updates? Ah, there is. Okay, I think Jilene let this one slip. Christy Turlington is, I believe, signee. This is another, all these trends that overlap. There is a trend of supermodels and like rock stars and movie stars getting together. And that combined with my natural, proclivity or inclination to want there to be happy endings, I have to watch out for that. But turns out there are, more than a few of these pairings. I think we're more familiar with, for example, like say, when they pair with the Vijay, say Naiji, when they pair with Vijay, but there also is a good amount of pairing with, say, Naiji with Zaini and Jinai. And generally, when they do, very often they are models. All right. Next, here's another one, Suki Waterhouse. I believe she's with a Jinai, at least she was. Had her down as Nijai. But she's another one of these Jinai that plays a little more winsome. She can do some fierce stuff as well, but she tends to play it back a bit. So I confused her for being adaptive. I got Abram, but I thought I was saying adaptive, but this is actually a directive. All right. Another update is Kate Moss. Dun, dun, dun. That's big. Big time, Kate Moss. And now that I'm looking for it, I can clearly see the Laonic face, the pucker, the energy outward, and so on. But she's one of these riffs that definitely has a bit of that, like, at least early on in her career, whatever, that this kind of fragility quality. Oh, and of course, especially among the fashion models, is that you're supposed to be really, really thin. So most of these Ginai who are fashion models, they are very, very lean. And so that affects things as well. But also, there can be the general bearing. And Kate Moss generally sort of had this, what's going on, anything can happen ingenue quality to her, which is, if you see like Nijai in movies, often that is a role that they fill. Nijai females show up a good amount in TV and movies, but particularly when things get like a little emotionally daring, with a person has to endure a lot and kind of keep their virtue while like the world's throwing gnarly stuff at them. That often is something that Nijai fill that role. But to watch out that Jinai do it as well. So that's something I'll be correcting this coming year. Any more? Another one, Bahati Prinsloo. She is also, I believe, with a Naiji, but this is a Jinai. Jinai, not a Nijai. All right, so update there. Anything else? That is it. Okie dokie. We have completed the modeling for today, but this we'll be seeing a lot more. I'll probably be having updates in this for months to come. Next up is my condition. Alrighty. So something people may wonder about is how I am able to do what I can do just in general. And oh, there we go. Perfect. So how I can do this in general and then particularly my condition. So short version is that I've talked about this in other filmings before in more depth, but the short version is that my memory is very, very bad to the point that I have quite a lot of disabilities in doing anything not related to this project that I am fanatically fetishing on, obsessing on, and necessarily so. So the way it happens is that I'll be tracking theory, which I can just kind of do in my head like daydreaming, or phenomenon that I'm actually observing, people, places, things going on. As far as recalling things in a way like, oh, this happened when, or anything specific, like getting something from a Rolodex, or remembering really anything like in a list form, I'm unable to do that hardly at all. However, as I'm working cases, I'll start to get more worked up. And this can take place over the course of one broadcast, over the course of a week, over the course of a month, a year, years, a lifetime. And so at different points, like right now, me doing this broadcast, I'm able to do it now because my work makes it to where I'm supposed to be doing this now. But if I was to try and do this before now, those who've been following me know, I would be unable to do so. I had to build up to get to where I'm doing it. Now that I'm here, I'm feeling kind of a compulsion to put forward these facts that I believe I've seen and want to share with the world. So I can't really grab anything, but as I work on things that are of interest to my psyche, then I will get more ability to speak fluently on it. And as I do so, I will get memory drops as I'm talking, as I'm working with it. I can't go and grab for it. I can only keep observing this phenomenon, making observations, and then thinking what that means, and then talking about it. And as I do so, things will happen, which is why, like I said, I'm excited about this vlog for how far I can go with it and see what will come out of me in the process. So in this broadcast, because my psyche is now ready to talk on these cases, I will be able to have great fluency and great memory, like incredible memory on this very specific focus. And those who will be joining me as guests, they know this. They've been training with me for years now. They understand my process to a good amount. They'll be learning more as we work closely together. But that's one thing, is that if I'm following where my psyche is going, things just start tumbling out. Genius, great eloquence of speech, incredible logical sequencing, and memory, very specific details that are very on point. But it has to get in this worked up churning process. So that's the first part. There's a bit of a process to it to get it there. And I don't choose what comes out. What happens, happens. I'm not really in control of how much I need to just be pondering and talking before certain memories will come forward, certain logical sequencing proficiency will become available to me. And then I don't have control over what they'll be on. So when and what it's about, that's not on my control, other than the more I work on these cases, these memory drops, these periods of great lucidity and very particular logical sequencing, they get stronger, they get better, and they get more focused on what they should be focused on, which means I'm leveling up, the cases are getting more solved, progress is being made. All right, what else? I have quite a few other things going on with me as a part of my condition. They are mentioned in the Popular Proclamation. I've mentioned them over the years in various filmings. But I have issues with being angry. I have issues with panic attacks. I have issues with hearing my synapnia, both hearing audible, seeing things visually. It can be distracting if it really comes on me strong when I'm out in the world, which is why I tend to be very particular about when and where I go out. I have to be very particular about that. Otherwise, it becomes very problematic for me very quickly. But doing what I do, I am solving the greatest case ever. So yay, go me. And I'm getting better. I'm able to do more things. Currently, the things I can do, the world doesn't really recognize. So my disability in that way has not really changed as far as the world's concerned. But for me, I'm getting better because on this particular project, which I consider to be the most important project ever, I'm getting better and better and better at doing this work. So I'm very, very pleased about that, and will keep working to do so. But as a part of that, I'll need to talk about my process because it'll help me understand myself and for the world to understand me now, if they're interested, but definitely later on when people are trying to figure out my work and the person that came up with the things that I have. All right. As a part of that, my current state is I've been in my cave mostly for the last few years, getting ready to go out. And then for the last maybe, I don't know, year or so, I've been trying to figure out how I was going to go out into the world, in what capacity, what character am I going to embody, how am I going to be, what is the me I'm going to present, and then what tools do I need, like ebooks that were made and so forth. What skills do I need? What things do I need to unpack? Like I need to unpack that I'm a poet and do some poetry. I've done some already. I'll do some more, but I need to unpack that so when I present myself to the world, I'm actually presenting me. All right. So now I'm getting very, very close to going out in the field and just meeting people under the understanding that it is what it is. I'm not trying to get anyone to come into pod lair. I'm just actually trying to lead a courageously authentic life. But with that said, I have a lot of energy now, as mentioned, these cycles for that kind of stuff. So now my appetite, that's one of the reasons why I haven't been able to go out much, is that my synapnia's processing power and capacity, it's always about working cases, and that wasn't really a case going out much. But now it is a case, so remembering people, I'll be really bad with that in general, unless they're part of like case like collaging, you know, I'm the best at that as far as that virtual village. But remembering other people out and about that aren't going to be useful in presenting the case to the world of the mojo phenomenon, the human qualia phenomenon, I'm like, not me, but well, I guess it's me, but my psyche just can't hold that. But now it wants to go out with Jailene and try out some different things I just find personally interesting. And while I'm there, be my courageous, authentic self and see what happens when I meet people in that way, and then report back to you all. So I believe I should, within that capacity, have more ability to hold on to who people are and where I may have and when I may have met them. So we'll see. All right. Next up, dun dun dun, 43. All right, we have some updates. Everything is related, as I mentioned, my condition, spirituality, politics, this and that. So here we're working models. That's one I'm working a lot this year. And because of the amount of Jinai female rifts that I'm seeing from that, I'm seeing some corrections. First place is my TV timeline, because I've been working that out a lot, as you all know. We've been going over that this Sunday session. So that is closer to me in my synapnia. And what do we got? Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so Boston Legal. In Boston Legal, we've already covered this in the Sunday session. So you know these are Nizey James Spader, William Shatner, Nizey Kenneth Bergen, Renee. Here we go. Coming up is, where is she? She's there. Rona Mitra. Rona Mitra is a Jinai. Now, thing that threw me with her is, one, she does the pouty lip a lot, so she doesn't move her cheeks as much, and she has a bit of a funky, not fake funky in a bad way, but like an interesting upper lip, and rather smooth cheeks. And I thought perhaps this was Cheshire Cat, but this is not. This is smooth-faced Lionic. And again, the models are helping me with that because a lot of the models obviously have these very smooth face qualities. Having smooth cheeks is highly desired. So a smooth cheek Ginai can be a little more confusing to see that the flexations are actually happening in those cheeks, but they are. So, bam, Runa Mitra. So that is updated. And also Ginai Saffron Burrows. Had her down as Naiji. With her, again, the models helped. It's her leanness. She's very, very lean. Here you can see she has a fairly broad face even, and now I'm able to see much easier the Lionic quality of it. But two things. One, she tends to do this rather impassive look or just slightly, bemused or interested as opposed to like a full-on open G smile, although she does those as well. But as far as her overall riff, she does as much, and that's a bit more similar to the model riff of Ginai. The other thing is very lean. She's very, very lean in her bone structure and her body mass, and so that can also be confusing that you're seeing a subjective, but not. Ginai Saffron Burrows. Alrighty. Next up is words being goofy. Okay, so next up we are going to have what year is that? All right. Community. In community, I believe we've already covered this in Sunday session, so I won't go through the whole cast, but this is a big update. Ginai Jillian Jacobs. We had her down as a Ginai. Now, I think the feeling about her, and this is another kind of Ginai riff I'm getting more familiar with the females, is kind of like a goofy, this sort of goofy kind of thing. And a lot of times the Ginai will play a lovably, sort of whimsical, not quite there thing. And the Ginai don't tend to play those roles as much. But she does. She plays kind of like a whimsical, doesn't quite know what's going on, but she has a good, time regardless. And that's something you see a lot more with Ginai, but Ginai do it also. So boom. One thing I will also mention is, I don't know, he was updated a while back, make sure everyone knows, is that Danny Pudi from Community is Ginai, and Jim Rash Ginai. All right. Oh, was that sharing? Hold up. I think I wasn't sharing. Hold up. Sorry, everyone. Click the share button. Okay, here we go. So Jim Rash Ginai, Danny Pudi Ginai. Make sure everyone knows that. But this one's the new one. Ginai Jillian Jacobs. Ginai, not Ginai. So drink that in, everyone. Okay, next up. Uh-oh, Starglow. If you're not sitting down, you'll want to sit down now. Here we go. Am I still sharing this? Make sure I'm sharing. Okay. Boom. All right. So take a look at Outlander. In Outlander, main character is Ginai Catriona Balfe. She is not Nijai. And again, a bit more of the winsome quality to her. And she has a bit more of a, I won't say fragile build, but a bit more of a less, say, sturdy or imposing build that you sometimes see with pilots. So, boom. So, hope you're okay, Starglow. Breathe. Just breathe. And while I'm at it here, I also decided to put Grant O'Rourke as pending for now. I want to take a little more look at him again in the future. All right. Next up, we have, oh, I think actually this might be the same place. Black Sails. In Black Sails, we have, I'm not sure if we covered Black Sails yet, so I'll go ahead and do it. I think this might be new for people. Captain Flint is Pirates, 20 years prior to Robert Louis Stevenson's classic Treasure Island. It's one that me and Jailene like a bit, which I'll probably be discussing when she comes on the show. But boom, Nai Toby Stevens. And here's one, Jinai Hannah Nu. She's been released as a Nijai. This is actually a Jinai. And this is, again, her and also another one here. They are, on a pirate island with all kinds of rowdy men and crazy stuff goes on. And so they had to kind of just roll with it a lot. And so that just rolling with it quality could be confusing for a Nijai, but is in fact a Jinai. So thank you, models, for helping me see that. There are quite a few models that have a bit of her look. Nai Luke Arnold, Nai Zach McGowan. Here we go. Jinai Jessica Parker Kennedy. She'd also been released as a Nijai, but I believe she's actually Jinai. Again, pretty obvious she's an Abram, but she's kind of rolling with the punches mainly in her role, and it's difficult for her to play the maybe more classic motifs that you associate with a Jinai, and that can be a bit confusing. But she is a Jinai. Boom, boom. That is Lionic. All right. We have one more for you. Next up is going to be Jessica Jones. All right, this one I definitely don't think we've covered yet, so I'll do it now. A former superhero decides to reboot her life by becoming a private investigator. Ever since her short-lived stint as a superhero ended in tragedy, Jessica Jones has been rebuilding her personal life and career as a hot-tempered, sardonic private detective in Hell's Kitchen, New York City. By the way, props to Wikipedia for these. No, not Wikipedia, IMDb. Plagued by self-loathing and a wicked case of PTSD, Jessica battles demons within and without, using her extraordinary abilities as an unlikely champion for those in need, especially if they're willing to cut her a check. All right. Main character is, let's actually get you guys in on it. That'll probably help. Boom. Okay. Nai Christian Ritter is the main character, Jessica Jones. Nizai Rachel Taylor as her friend. Naiji Ika Darville, another one of her friends. Drug addict, but he's getting better. Ziny David Tennant as Kilgrave, otherwise known as the Purple Man, who can control minds. He was an awesome villain. I won't tell you too much about him if you haven't seen the series yet, but I highly recommend you check it out. He does a great job. Ziny Carrie Ann Moss, she's a lawyer. Nizy Will Travail. I'll let you watch the show, figure him out. Now, here's one that I wanted to show you in particular, which is Jinai Susie Abrame. Now, at one point, I thought maybe she was a Nizai, but now I believe I'm seeing Jinai. Again, she has fairly smooth cheeks, and so smooth cheek quality might make you think it's sheer cheeks, but it's not. That actually does go all the way up. So again, thank you for the modeling bubble for improving my lens on that. Jinai Susie Abrame is updated. Now, as long as we're here, Jinai Mike Coulter, he's going to be playing Power Man in his own series coming soon. Naiji Aaron Moriarty. Nijai Robin Wiegert. Awesome show. I highly recommend you check it out. Okay. Boom. Done. Next up, what's next? Okay. My family. All right, so my family situation is an ongoing case. For those who aren't familiar, I'm estranged from my family because of the views I hold, the cases I'm working on, the implications I think they mean to themselves and the entire world. And then I've needed to separate myself in order to get the clarity I need to work on the cases. And that separation and how I went about it, the separation was necessary. How I went about it was necessary in principle, but in application, I was very rough and should have done it a lot better. But overall, I have to do the work I have to do, and it has to be done a certain way, and that is unacceptable to my family. And that is where we are. Current situation, we don't talk. We haven't talked for a long time. Right now, we just do texts every now and then, pretty much just grim news. So right now, I've been given the news that a relative has died, and so this gets into the whole kind of issue of things, which is I don't really remember this relative, and my family is not really understanding my issues as a prodigious savant, my issues of memory and logical sequencing and so forth, and the fact that my work and that are related, and that my work is the most important thing going on. It just is. If it's true, which I believe it to be, it's the most important thing that has ever happened in the history of humans, and I would be irresponsible if I didn't do everything I can to be as successful as I can, getting my own understanding of it better and sharing it with the world. Truth trumps everything, including family, although families have a very hard time understanding that. But gravity is gravity and affects everything that every family does, every family member does, even though families may not know about gravity or may choose to think that they operate above or separate from it, but you don't. And so gravity may not be as sexy or as warm or as cuddly as, various interpersonal relationships, but at the end of the day, the way of it trumps everything. And most people are like, even country, even family, even this, even that. Yes, it trumps everything, including anyone's current understanding of spirituality that they think doesn't include the observations of natural law that are clear there to be made. If they don't account for them, then they're incorrect. And that incorrectness, there's no amount of piety or holiness or sacredness that makes incorrectness not incorrect. So there is a way to things, and then there's only a question of our families, countries, theoretical models, spiritual models, are they in alignment with it or are they not? All right. Because of that, right now, my family and I, and I guess emblematic for my relationship with the world in general, is, am I a mega genius or am I insane? It's a legitimate question. If you can see the data, which is there to be seen, and more people are seeing it and will be continuing to seeing it because it's there, then the mojo phenomenon is real. That makes it the most important case ever. There is a methodology for it. It can be read by humans. There's a methodology to do that, and I'm currently the best at it. That is the current situation. But if you are unable to see the mojo phenomenon and are willing to do the work it takes to be able to observe it, then everything I'm saying as far as the theory and mojo journalism and how humans work in all kinds of capacities, it's just me saying stuff out of nowhere, but it's not. It's based on data. But if you're unable or unwilling to see that data, then I'm crazy to your eyes. So right now, I'm crazy to my family's eyes because they are unwilling/unable to observe the data sufficiently. For that reason, I have to keep my distance because the work I do, as anything at the highest level, scientific, artistic, athletic, it won't matter. You have to be in the proper headspace. You need confidence and you need clarity to do what you're doing. So I simply cannot be around people who are not of this headspace, because then it makes you question what you're doing. For example, if you're working on like a nuclear weapon and you're disarming it, and this could like blow up the entire planet, but no one realizes that's what's going on, they don't acknowledge it. If you walk into various events, birthday parties, whatever, and you have some relationship to people, that's all going to pull on you. Unless they realize that the world is currently going to be blown up by a nuclear bomb that needs to be disabled, and you're the only one that can do it, and you're currently in the middle of doing it. If that's there, then everything's great. But if that's not there, then every situation will attempt to pull you off, which is why, as I mentioned, I'm preparing to go out in the field and meet people. When I meet them, I'm going to meet them as this person I am doing this work, and they'll react as they do, and those that react in a way that I can continue, having more deeper friendships, deeper relationships with them. That's great. And those that I can't. And I must use that barometer, that measuring method on everyone in my life, including my family, including former friends. There's really no one I can do that, because consistently, when I allow relationships to be set in a non-Podler way, then there's just this natural two things. One, a doubt. I start to doubt myself, because if you're fixing a nuclear bomb and then you walk away to another place where everyone is not thinking that's happening, you can almost think, did I really need to disable that bomb? Was that really happening? It seems like a world away. Slash, yeah, maybe it is happening, but do I really need to do it? Can't someone else do it? Won't it fix itself? Can I just drop it? So those things weigh on me a lot, and I cannot have them weighing on me anymore if they already do. So that is why I'm currently where I'm at. However, I want my family and I to be in the best terms possible, so I'm here open and available to dialogue with them if they ever should be interested. Obviously, it doesn't be like public like this. It can be emails or whatever, but currently we weren't talking at all, and now we had an encounter a while back, and there was a very beginning of possibly being able to just talk in some kind of mutually acceptable way, but then death in the family came up, and that just dominated everything. And this sounds horrible, but nothing can dominate the conversation over this. This explains all the awesome and all the tragic that has happened in human history till now. It explains how it is all happening right now. Everything awesome human are doing and could do better. Everything horrible that's going on right now and could be fixed. All of human existence, the condition of it, is based on this. And the entire future of everyone, including my family, because I was raised that you have to take care of family. I am, except I'm thinking of my family in terms of all its future generations, all its permutations, all the people that are going to be a part of it, and I have to help them. So I'm looking at that, and then the world itself, now once it knows what's going on, the future definitely knows what's going on, is what did I do with my gifts? And there just simply has to be a single-minded focus. And areas that gets very complicated in are intimate relationships, family, patriotism. There's a lot of them. These are some big ones. And another big one is, I'll say, religion. Shouldn't be if you're actually just being a seeker, but the methodology that you've been taught how to be a seeker can get in the way of being a seeker. And that's an issue people have. And again, if you challenge that, you're automatically wrong. You're not. The way of it is the most important thing, period. And it must be observed, honored, obeyed. And everything else falls under that. It just does. Although there are several topics I just mentioned will have sort of knee-jerk reactions of, nothing is above family. Do you have blood going through your veins? Okay, that's because the way the vascular system works, which is part of the way of it. If you didn't have that, you wouldn't have veins. You wouldn't have veins, you wouldn't be here. So the way of it makes everything. It makes all the babies. It makes all the marriages. It makes all the everything, all the families, all the groups. Every idea people have about the way of it came from the way of it. So the way of it trumps everything. I guess that's the basic point. With that said, I do hope that I can reconcile with them, but it has not happened so far, and time is running out. So I'm dealing with reconciling that, and that is an ongoing process. It's a process other people find as well. Hopefully they won't have to go on the same severity that I do, but as you learn Podler and accept the truth of it, this happens anytime you accept higher truth, like when the scientific community was first really busting on the scene. You're going to be kicked out of your local, maybe religious community. You may have certain people that you would like to date not want to date you because you believe in evolution. That weirds them out. So that's just part of it. And so Podler will have that as well. I accept that, but it's a thing. And so it's a case that I'll be working. All right. What else? Dun, dun, dun. Okay. Boom. I have a teaser for you from MMA. I'll be working this bubble throughout the year as well with Jailene in particular, and she'll be my guest next time. But I'll give you a little teaser what's to come. Let's see here. Let's pull up who we got. Open up. Boom, 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 boom. MMA. All right. So share this with you all. The fight tonight is going to have as its main card Vaji, you see him here, Conor McGregor, and he'll be taking on another Vaji, which is Vaji Nate Diaz. So we have Vaji against Vaji. Now the interesting thing here, there was actually another Vaji involved, which was Rafael dos Anjos. Now, Conor McGregor is the champion at 145 pounds. But after doing that, he was going to do something unprecedented. He challenged Vaji Rafael dos Anjos to the 155 belt. Rafael dos Anjos is the champion at 155. So that was what was supposed to be the event. And that was really hyped up because it was unprecedented. And if he was successful, then McGregor would have had 2 weight class belts, which has never happened before. And so instead, Rafael dos Anjos dropped out because of an injury, and now he's fighting Vaji Nate Diaz. Now, Nate Diaz is a mind-jobbing Vaji, but he does what I call thug nagging. Him and his brother, Nick Diaz. Here, the Diaz brothers. There's Nick Diaz, his older brother, and here's younger brother, Nate. And they do a form of Vaji mind jobbing where they like nag you. And they get on you for like, you don't train right, you don't know how to be. And they're not the most eloquent, but they are persistent, and they get on you about anything they perceive as being a weakness. But it definitely has kind of like this, anything different from them and the way they train and the friends they train with is wrong. And they basically thug nag on the fact that you are just not like them and their crew. For example, Vaji Nick Diaz was in a match against Naiji Carlos Condit, and at one point Carlos Condit is spinning back fist, and it's a good technique. Spinning techniques do actually work sometimes if you do them right, and Carlos Condit does have effective spinning techniques. But when he did the move, Nick Diaz talked trash in the ring as he normally does, and people afterwards asked Condit, like, what are you saying to you? He said, oh, we're doing spinning shit now, as if it was like morally wrong to do a spinning technique because they don't. Like, oh, you're trying to be fancy, so you're like somehow morally incorrect, like a fancy wannabe for doing a spinning attack. So that's kind of the way they go about it. And they intimidate a lot of people. The pressure they put on prior to a fight, at the weigh-ins, so in the press, and then in person at the various like media events, and then in the ring itself, this constant psychological pressure. However, that is what McGregor is known for. McGregor is known for this as well, but he's different. In the ring, he does a lot of movement. He has an incredible array of techniques, a lot of new, very cutting-edge stuff, and very cleverly woven together. He does all kinds of spinning attacks. And then his verbal attacks are very eloquent. He does, he's almost like a journalist in a way, where he doesn't like you. I'd almost call him like a politician, a political journalist. He basically does research on the other person and finds everything is not great about you. And then he does research on himself, everything he trumps on you. And he proceeds to just, eloquently lay out why he is a superior human being. And thus you will lose to him in this endeavor and really anything in life. So it's be fascinating to see them in a ring. This little teaser, me and Jailene will report on that next time. Oh, anyway, a little more exciting on this is that Nate Diaz is moved up to 170. So Conor McGregor was moving up from 145 to 155 for Dos Anjos, but now he's going up to 170. So this is going to be incredible if he's actually able to do this. Now, he's more athletically gifted than Diaz is, but Diaz is a naturally significantly larger individual. So, should we go to C? All right. What else do we have going on? Which is the main event for the females, is the challenger, Naiji Miesha Tate. And although she is Naiji, on the Diaz brothers, I have me and Jolene pick like who we want to win and who we think will win. With McGregor and Diaz, I think that McGregor's probably going to win, more than likely. And as far as who I want to win, I don't really have a preference. I think it'd just be interesting either way. Now, with the co-main event, which is going to be for the female 135-pound title, Miesha Tate Naiji, something about her sometimes I think she could be a little less petty. Maybe she's gotten better, I'm hoping, but sometimes she's been a bit petty in the past as compared to her opponent, the champion. The champion is Gina Holly Holm. And so far, I've really liked her demeanor in all the interviews and press things I've seen, and also just how she conducts herself in the ring. So I believe she's going to beat Miesha Tate because she's more athletic and has more dangerous weapons. But I also am rooting for her because I like her better. Not that Miesha is really bad, but you always have to have one little favorite. So Miesha isn't bad, just sometimes her past she's been a little petty. And Holly Holm, I just really think she's been pretty shiny so far. So I'm going for the Gina shiny. All right. Anything else? I will mention as a teaser as well that the MMA Bubble, I'll be getting to quite a bit for some purifying because two of the big themes this year is going to be Gina female. The modeling's helping a lot with that. And then G-Vi male. I believe there are more G-Vi male in MMA and also football than I thought. The Gina are very dominant in both those sports, but I believe a portion of that may actually be G-Vi. I'll give you a slight tease. The most famous MMA fighters, Tito Ortiz, was down as a G9. I believe that the Huntington Beach bad boy is a G-Vi. They're looking at now. What helped me is as part of this next 4K I'm working on, I gather deeper into soap opera actors and actors because the demographics there are more unusual than most of the acting bubble. And so I was getting some good gender mojos for our collection. As a part of that, I was able to see that he is a G-Vi, which is interesting because I was able to distinguish the Vi-G from G-Vi in the soap opera bubble, or that portion of the acting bubble, from the G-Vi I had in MMA. So it's really cool how you can kind of improve in one area and then you kind of reach a plateau, but you can use the bonuses to open up another area. And then that area, actually, you can come back to the area you plateaued before, and the plateau, boom, you can bust through it. So, excellent, excellent, excellent. So there's a little teaser on that. And I will be watching that with Jilene, and we will report on you what is happening, plus more MMA stuff. All righty. Almost done. Boom, boom, boom. All right, I will leave us with coming soon. So coming soon, some things I'll be doing. One is that I'll be having Jilene on as a guest next time, and she'll be a reoccurring guest. She'll be on a lot of the times. I'll always be doing a solo portion in the beginning, but I'll be having a portion with her at the end most of the times, or at least a lot of times whenever she feels up for it. Then I will also bring on other guests. I have things planned to go in to them with as well. With Jilene, I'll be doing MMA, as I mentioned, but also we'll be doing football together because now I'm realizing I'll be distinguishing Gina from G-Vi. That's an area of great interest for her, so it'll be fun to work that with her. And then we're also going to do soccer together, and we will be doing music and TV shows and movies that we watch as well. So a lot of really cool, fun stuff. Oh, and field adventures, which I'll talk about a little bit more. But then I'll be having a Demas on. We're going to be doing comedy, and also I'd like to get some chess with him. Mitchell, going to be doing tennis, and then later on STEM, science, technology, engineering, math. That's the area he's interested in. Then with Glenn, we'll be doing fitness and probably find maybe some other areas to work as well. Then Starglow, females in authors, female authors. That's an area I think could have some good yields for our collection. And then Bruno, females in music. It'll be a really interesting area to get into for some goodies. As far as field adventures, I'm looking forward to going back to the gym, so you can look for tales in the gym to be in the mix. Also, the park. While walking to the park, there's quite a few demographics that hang out in the park at different times, so I'll be reporting on that. As also the food store we go to, we chat with the cashiers. I'll be increasing how authentic I'm being. I haven't mentioned being a prodigious savant yet, but I'm going to. I'm interested to see how that goes over. Coffee shop, same thing. We're going to go back to the coffee shop and just go back to doing our thing over there and chatting with the baristas. Not really trying to teach them anymore, but more just being our character courageously and authentically, including things like, hey, I'm a prodigious savant, and can you pass the salt or whatever. But we'll be reporting on that as well. And then, of course, themed events. Charlene and I will be trying to go to 1 or 2 themed events a week and reporting on them as field adventures. And that will begin at the beginning of next month. What else? Spoken word. I will be continuing to do Truth Fire Dragon, but I'll be focusing on personal stuff, which for me right now is going to be doing a lot with spoken word expression. I want to put together several pieces, maybe like an album. I'm working with Jailene. She's doing vocals with me as well. Working with Bruno. He's helping with beats and so forth. So very, very exciting, and that will give me more credits in my track too. So these channels will complement each other. Both of them, I actually feel a very strong connection to Nexi. But in Truth Fire Dragon, it's more Ni and Jai. It's more of a discovery process and just personally how I feel like doing stuff. And then here, it's more Z and Vi. It's still the Ni and the Jai, bring me full into full master mode, but it's going to be working cases and trying to do so in as professional manner as I am capable of doing, given the work that I do and my condition. All right, what else? Anything else? Boom, 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 boom. Oh, as a part of that going out on the field adventures, I'll be working on like a 1-page introducing my character, like, hello, this is me. Which is different than things I've done in the past where I was focusing on teaching Podlair or focusing on trying to get them interested in Podlair. This is just going to be me being as authentic as I can, courageously and eloquent. So eloquent, courageous, authentic. That's the plan. So I'm looking to actually have a 1-page of my character with like each sentence being really important and well said for me to be who I want to be. And I'll try to make sure I get that 1-page out as soon as possible whenever I'm talking to someone. It doesn't be like on a rush. It can be over a course of meeting them several times. But as I'm getting to know people, I will want to set that, set my character so they can have proper expectations of me and our interactions going forward. And the sooner I can set those pieces, the better. And then I'll probably have a few more pages I'll develop in time of how people react or questions they ask to me presenting my character, like, hey, I'm me, and as part of that, I'm this, I do this, this happens, yada yada. And they're like, oh, what's that, or why? I'm like, that they tend to ask that a lot. I want to have really good stuff. So that is the plan. I will keep you posted. But I'm very, very excited now because it's all on me. It's me to be brave enough, to be authentic enough, and to be well spoken enough. But I can do that. That is it's all on me, and I feel very up to the task. Well, I feel I will be up to the task, and I'm excited about the prospect of getting myself to that point. And after I get the first levels, what new vistas I'll see of future levels to come. I will dream of leveling up. All right, I guess that is everything for now. I will see you all on Sunday. And next time, Jailene, the week after that, more guests will be coming on. Stay tuned. Have fun, everyone.